My initial thoughts when I was in the university was that, finance rules the world. And if we have the great modeling of finance and proper tools, etc., things go fine. But when I started working in this public sector bank and I interacted with people from all over, there was diversity. So different cultures in India, different mindsets. I realized it is people who make the change. So, whatever sophisticated tools we have, whatever strategy and vision we have, if the people are not supporting us, we will never, ace our game. So then I started reading up about leadership, about performance management, and then I got interested and I started my PhD.
Hi, everybody. I'm Elisabeth Swan.
And I'm Tracy O'Rourke, and we're from the Just in Time Cafe, and welcome to our podcast. At the cafe, we wrestle with tough questions. We talk to thought leaders, discuss great books, and get insights from Lean Six Sigma practitioners.
We let you in on helpful apps. We bring you the news and challenge the status quo so you can build your problem-solving muscles.
So, Elisabeth, what's on the cafe menu today?
I'm glad you asked me that, Tracy. Today's highlight is our interview with Dr. Sabiha Mumtaz. She teaches at the University of Wollongong in Dubai, and she's got an innovative strategy for helping to lift women into leadership positions. Next up, it's an app that provides you with videos, animation, and an unlimited supply of presentation goodies. And for Q&A, we asked our problem-solving community if they had ever attempted to bring lean into their homes, and if they did, what happened? It's a great fall day at the cafe, Tracy.
Up next, it's hot apps.
Yes, Tracy, today's app is another cool tool to make you look good.
Yes, it's called Presenter Media, and I have been a fan of this app for many years because it helps you put together awesome presentations. It creates everything you need to create epic presentations that come to life for PowerPoint, Google Slides, and Keynote. It's kind of like having your own personal presentation designer. They have things like PowerPoint presentation templates. They're already built animations, clip art, video backgrounds, background music, and slide clips. But what's even cooler is that most of the items they create are changeable in color and size. So you could change a lot of the content to match, let's say, your brand colors or other. So that's really nice too, because often people struggle that things are made of images and you can't adjust them. So it's not as customizable. But I find anytime I use a PowerPoint template, I can change the colors, no problem. I can change the fonts, the images, anything pretty easily. They also have pre-built designs for PDCA, Six Sigma, Lean, change management, and more. Anytime I'm looking for some fancy animation, I always look in Presenter Media. So what did you discover when you looked it up, Elisabeth?
Yeah, I know you've been a fan of this for a while, so I'm familiar with what you've brought to the table by using it. So I just checked out, and they've got a huge library, and it's obviously constantly growing of all the presentation elements, the graphics, the animations, and the animations are kind of cool. They've got 3 tiers of pricing. You can get a month for $39.95, and that gets you full access. You can get a yearly subscription for $59.95, and you get, again, full access and I think some hip customer service, or you can pay $99.95 for 2 years. So access is always the same. It's unlimited. You just get a jump in the discount if you pay a little more up front. So pretty cool. It seems like a really simple, easy to access and not that expensive.
Yes. And I'm going to have to say that I haven't had to rely on them in most recent years because you rock when it comes to images. So I haven't had to use them as much, but if I didn't have you, man, I'd have to be in here all the time.
Oh yeah.
So we'll include the link to Presenter Media on the podcast post on our website so you can check it out.
I'm Elisabeth Swan, and you're listening to the Just in Time Cafe podcast. In a short while, you get to hear our interview with Dr. Sabiha Mumtaz. Next up, it's a question we pose to our community. Have you ever unleashed lean on your friends and family? And if you did they still talk to you? And what brought this up was this last weekend for, I don't know how many years, it's been since 2009. We skipped last year because of COVID, but we've had this huge party. It's a big cleanup we run at my mom's house. It's for her birthday. And this was her 89th birthday. And she even joins in the work party, but we're out there with, clippers and hedge trimmers, and people are using saws, and they're repairing the deck. They're on the roof. They're clearing the gutters out. I mean, there's been over 40 people at these things. This was a smaller crew. We had to have a rain date, but what happened years ago is I use a Kanban board. I realized people show up and I'd have this big master list and they'd be like, Elisabeth, what do I do? Where do I go? And I'd be flipping this list, like, where can I go? What can I give them? What would they be good at? And then I just switched it into a Kanban board where it was, that classic to do, doing, done. I just put all these Post-its up there with all the potential work people could do, all the jobs, and then they'd switch them into doing, and then eventually they'd go done. And then we got a little salty. We were like, it's going to go from, maybe to it's on to so done. So we got, to have some fun with it, but it makes all the difference in the world. People end up having fun with it. They go up there, they're like, where's my job? And they write it down if it wasn't up there. At the end of the day, they were pulling them off and yelling out the job to see if it had been done. And everyone would yell, so done. And then they'd stick it in the done pile. And man, my mom loves it. It's just so fun. So I just wanted to see, what do people do? What do they use?
It's funny when you say, are they still talking to you? So a lot of the stuff I've implemented was really myself checklist that I need, especially when I was having a baby and I had mommy brain and I couldn't remember what went in the baby bag and I didn't want to have to think. So I'd have a little checklist for what goes in the baby bag before I left the house. That was kind of important. So things like that were really helpful. But, my husband, he's a stay-at-home dad. So I try to stay in my lane, and I'll tell you more about that a little bit later.
Okay. Baby bag for baby brain.
Exactly.
Really kind of a tagline. Well, I put this post out there and our community responded as usual. So I just want to give some examples of what we heard, because some of them are great. President and co-founder of the company Enable, Emily Bopp, had a great example. And she said it was her answer to COVID co-living with her young adult sons. And she shared a photo of her family management board. So to-dos were in buckets across the top with pull cards that have lists and instructions. And at their Sunday night huddle, they chose to-dos and they put them in the doing section. And then she gets quite excited that the cards move into the done buckets at the bottom before the next Sunday's huddle. And she said a friend sent her this Wall Street Journal article about COVID homebound consultants optimizing their families. And then she realized she'd already done it. So just out of curiosity, because you've got 2 boys, would that work with your sons?
I absolutely think, yes, it could work for my sons. But like I said, my challenge is I'm not the stay-at-home parent. There could be many weeks, being a consultant, that you're not home. And guess what? This stuff doesn't work if there isn't the discipline to follow through and consistently follow up. So my husband, I'm a lucky gal. My husband cooks, he cleans, he helps with the homework, he takes them to and from school, he pays the bills. I'm so lucky that way. So I really don't want my husband not to talk to me because I'm messing with his processes, right? So I'd like to stay in my own lane when it comes to the kids and the boys. And so, I float some ideas every once in a while, but ultimately I let him to his own devices. I think that makes me a good wife, right?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
But I will say that if I had to pick something, the most recent memory is this transition I had with my kids getting older. And of course, all parents go through it. But my kids are becoming teenagers now. My oldest is 18, my youngest is 13. And when my older son was coming of age, our communication wasn't really working out very well. And, as when we have small children, what happens is we tend to speak very directive to our kids, like brush your teeth, get dressed, do your homework, eat your peas, So we're always like telling them what to do. And then they come of age and they just stop listening, right? I know I would, and I know I did when I was a teenager. So I went through this, our communication it got aggravated because I think I was in tell mode and my teenager was kind of done with that. So I had to recognize I was in tell mode with my teenage son and it wasn't working. And then I thought, I really need to apply the principles I teach people to do, which is humble inquiry, like asking, being a coach and, letting him, make his own decisions and being there and helping him think through it as opposed to telling him what he should be doing. And so guess what? It took a little practice. It's a lot harder to apply to your kids than to a paying client. But I have to say, we have great communication now. And I have to attribute some of that success to Katie Anderson and Karen Ross's K2C2 workshops that you and I went through, because I actually used that as a coaching project that I would reflect on as part of the course. So thank you, Katie and Karen for that. So yeah, that's I think the biggest thing that I have had the most success with, applying lean at home.
Cool.
So let's hear a few more of these. Senior process analyst, owner of Lightbulb Moment Consulting, Stephanie Hill, said that her sister was totally overwhelmed with everything that she had to get done for her very fast relocation across the country. Stephanie took her to the local store, grabbed some supplies. They put together a Kanban board, and her sister moved this week and proudly sent her a photo of her completed board. So Stephanie also uses Kanban boards for her son's morning routine, and she shared a photo with us of that. She only cautions that when attempting this at home, make sure you make it theirs and create it in a way that works for them, just like with clients.
You got to. That's a great example. There's another one from Senior Director of Lean Strategy for KaiNexus and host of the Lean Leadership podcast, Chris Burnham. And he said that he very subtly organized the coats in his and his wife's coat closet. He put his coats on the left and he put his wife's on the right. And he said that's because she's always right. And then he pulled all the coats they had not worn in a while and he placed them on tables, and then they could decide what to donate and do that together. And she appreciated it, made it easier to decide what to purge. And it made finding, coats and jackets easier. And echoing Stephanie, he reminds us lean is something you apply with someone you care about, not to someone you care about.
I have a feeling that Chris is a good husband.
He sounds a little bit like that. But, Tracy, do you even share a closet with your husband? Haven't you taken over all the closets in your house with all of your costumes?
Well, yes. The good news is I only my costumes share half of my 13-year-old son's closet, and the rest of them are in the garage, keeping my 30 plus wigs company.
Oh man, your 13-year-old.
Yeah, I've been cast to the garage with all that stuff.
I think they've been very tolerant, Tracy, given your proclivities. So I got to say, I admire how organized you are with your wigs and outfits, but I've got two more examples I liked. One, lean specialist at Washington State Auditor's Office, Stephen Thompson, said that in he and his wife's home, she's always on the left and he's always on the right, no matter what they're talking about. Salads, bath towels, shoes. It just makes things easier to remember. And I just like that, but they both know it's the system. So they know who's is what. And then the last one, so clearly that's a technique that worked for them. It's again, like Chris Burnham, kind of subtle. And then we've got a hilarious example from Sally Toyster, former head of operational excellence for Marriott Hotels, where she 5S'd her closet so that her dog knew where to get his toys. And she shared a photo of her key stakeholder, the dog, conducting a 5-second find it test in the 5S closet. And she reports that he is quite happy with Lean at the home. It's so hilarious. And I know she did this for real. She showed us the pictures. So great examples from so many people. Our community loves to experiment.
Yes, they do. And I absolutely love hearing all of those ways people are applying this stuff at home because it's fun. It gets our brains thinking. And it's not something we do just at work. It shouldn't be something we do just at work. If you're doing these things at home, you're not just doing Lean, you're thinking Lean, and you're bringing it home, and you're using your Lean Six Sigma eyes, whatever you want to call it, wherever you are, not just at work. So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, just do it judiciously.
I'm Tracy O'Rourke, and you're listening to the Just in Time Cafe podcast. We host these monthly, so you can go to www.jitcafe.com. That's JITCAFE.com, and go to our podcast page. Coming up next, it's our featured guest, Dr. Sabiha Mumtaz. Elisabeth, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about Sabiha?
Happy to, Tracy. Dr. Mumtaz is an assistant professor of business and management at the University of Wollongong in Dubai. And she's a leader of WE, that's WE, which stands for the Women Empowerment Program, which is actively supporting the next generation of female leaders in the United Arab Emirates. She's a member of the editorial team at the International Journal of Educational Management, and she's an academic integrity researcher. I met Dr. Mumtaz when she invited me to speak with her MBA students about empowerment and delegation. After experiencing her teaching style and learning what she was up to, I knew we had to have her at the cafe. She is a mover and a shaker, and she manages to bring her unique physics background to her leadership teachings. Welcome, Sabiha. We are so excited to have you at the cafe. Thank you for visiting all the way from Dubai. Thanks for taking the time during the semester to tell us about your journey from physics to teaching leadership to MBA students for Wollongong University. You've become both a female leader and someone who fosters leadership in those who may not see it as an opportunity. And your background was a revelation for me. So can you describe first your undergraduate experience, what the field you were in and what that was like?
Thank you, Elisabeth and Tracy, for inviting me to the cafe. It is always a pleasure to meet people around the world. And for my background, my undergrad was in science. So my undergrad, I majored in physics, chemistry, and math. Then I moved on to my master's in physics. And then I wanted to participate in the civil services of India. I qualified for the preliminaries. Then I moved on to business, Masters of Business Administration. I've done my MBA, so it's a double master's. Then worked for a while in a bank and realized the importance of people. So went and did my PhD in performance management. And here I am in academia. So it was a long, winding path to where I am today, but the journey was beautiful. So whichever stop I visited, I enjoyed my journey. Yeah, it was a lovely walk.
A lovely walk. What a nice way to say it.
Thank you.
Tracy, did you have a question? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, it's funny that I was listening to you talk about your winding walk, and I just want to say that Elisabeth and I kind of had the same situation happen. We're both English majors, and then we found ourselves teaching people statistics with Six Sigma. Right?
Wow.
Like, how did that happen? But we enjoyed the lovely walk, and I find that sometimes people really appreciate a person who teaches statistics like an English teacher.
Oh, yes, absolutely, Tracy. I love what you say, because when I teach my master's students in business and I use lots of examples from physics to explain human behavior. Like, for example, in physics, we say, there is a postulate that energy is neither created nor destroyed, it just changes forms. And I say connect it with memories, because every experience that we have as a human, it's neither, it is not destroyed, it's somewhere there in our mind, embedded in our conscious or unconscious, it just changes form. So from a current memory, it becomes a latent memory. So I use physics a lot. We talk about behavior, like, for example, resistance to change. I pick up the example of friction, and I say, a body stays in motion or in state of rest unless a force is applied on it. So as people also, unless our driving forces are more than our resisting forces, we will never change. We would like to be in our comfort zone. So as you said, Tracy, people enjoy, students enjoy listening and looking at different principles from lenses of different theoretical constructs. So yes.
Wow. I have
Yeah.
never heard physics used so eloquently in the world of performance management. No, just really, that was lovely. And it also
Yeah.
reminded me, and just listening to Tracy talk about, two English majors that ended up teaching statistics, and you coming from physics and now teaching leadership, I wanted to also reflect on that our fields are male dominated, that, Tracy and I think things are shifting, but, Tracy and I were often the lone women in terms of large groups we were dealing with. And you too, can you remind me, I think you mentioned to me, what was it like in your physics classes or your...
So when I joined my master's in physics, first there were two major changes for me there, Elizabeth. First, I moved from an all girls education to a co-ed environment, because I'm from a small town in India. So when I took my admission to the master's, that is one of the premium universities in India. So I moved from a small town to a pretty, you know, mm, hotspot in terms of education. That was one. And then I moved from an all female education to a place where there were just three of us who were females. So there were two other females, and one also then got married while in the first year. So when we reached to the second year of our masters, there were just two of us. It was a male
And
dominated area with no female professors, all male professors, all male students, and yeah, it was quite a challenging journey, but very, very fulfilling. If you want, I can share one example where I struggled with a certain bias, if I may say so. So
Yes, please.
yeah,
yeah, so my first day at college here, I am a naive girl from a small town to a central university, and I have academically, I love academics. So I've always performed well as a student. So in our first class, we were asked to introduce ourselves and give a little background about ourselves. So I gave the background, and so the professor asked me, "Oh, you were the topper of the university in so and so town. What was your percentage?" So I gave to him what percentage I had, and he goes and says, "Oh, but in that particular town or city, they might have been quite generous with the grades. Let's see what you do here." And I was almost in tears, unable to process it emotionally, unable to handle it emotionally. And this was the first time I was going away from home, because that was a residential university. So I was almost ready to give up my master's and come back home. And this is where you see I got the support from my mom, because when I called her, she gave me so much strength, and she said, do not give up. You're a strong girl. Take it up as a challenge. And then you prove to him that you can do it irrespective of which city or town you're from. So I mean, just makes me a little goosebumpy when I talk about it, because I go back in those memories. But yeah, I made it. And although I was not the university topper, but I was second in rank in that university. Yeah.
Well, you showed
Yeah.
him, didn't
Yeah,
you?
go Sabiha.
Yes. Thank you so much. Yeah, yeah. So I showed him that, yeah, girls can also do it. Even though there are just two of us, we still pack a lot of power in our punches. Yeah.
I love it.
I love it too. Wonderful. So I would love to explore more too about the walk you were talking about and how you got into the leadership portion. What drew you to that part of your studying and interest?
Okay, so once I finished my master's, because I have a major in finance when I was doing my MBA, so my natural gravitation was in the area of banking, and I joined a public sector bank in India, where I was an assistant manager in working in the zonal office. So my role was mainly to work on the digital transformation of the bank, and there were around 150 odd branches who were reporting to us in zonal office, and some of them were rural branches. So my initial thoughts when I was in the university was that, finance rules the world, and if we have the great modeling of finance and proper tools, etc., things go fine. But when I started working in this public sector bank and I interacted with people from all over, there was diversity. So different cultures in India, different mindsets. I realized it is people who make the change. So, whatever sophisticated tools we have, whatever strategy and vision we have, if the people are not supporting us, we will never, ace our game. So then I started reading up about leadership, about performance management, and then I got interested and I started my PhD.
I was just reflecting because someone asked a question. You may know Sonia Singh. She's a leadership consultant, and she asked recently who our role models were, who were the powerful people that were rocks for us. And I think listening to you, knowing Tracy and myself, our mothers all played a role in being these powerful women who encouraged us
Absolutely.
to be powerful ourselves.
And for me, why my mother was also very inspirational is because uh, I belong to a very middle class, small town family in India, and there is a certain stereotype around being a Muslim female. So we're supposed to, get married early, not so much exposure to the world, but she made sure that there was absolutely no pressure on me in terms of marriage. So I was allowed to study as much as I want to, explore the world as much as I want to, and she was my rock. She is my rock. And I was fortunate that when I got married, and my mom-in-law played the same role for me. So she's the one who encouraged me to apply to the bank, because I took up the job in the bank after I got married. I got married after doing my MBA, immediately after my MBA. And then she is the one who encouraged me, because I was quite, as I told you, I was a little, very shy, very, very soft female. And she toughened me up and she said, it's okay. You go face the big bad world. It's okay. You do it. And she was so proud of me. She wanted to live her dreams through me. She wanted to be a lawyer. She couldn't be a lawyer. So she wanted me to do everything I wanted to achieve in life. So, yeah, I have two rocks, two moms in my life who are absolutely wonderful.
I love that. What an amazing story. Thank you. That's great.
And look at you now. You're an assistant professor at the University of Wollongong in Dubai for almost 10 years. You're rocking it every day in front of many, many people. What has that been like for you?
I academia. I love teaching, Tracy, because it's not like a job for me. I enjoy it. It's almost like my self-actualization, because every time I enter a classroom, I'm learning from them as much as I am teaching them. So this is my learning horizon. It gives me a beautiful entry into the diverse lives of people, students from all the different parts of the world, and just exposes me and keeps me growing and keeps me refreshed. So yes,
And
it's
I
not a
was
job
lucky.
to me at all.
No, I can tell. And I was honored and lucky enough to come and do a session with your students. So I got to experience your rapport with the students, and you have a series that you've done with inviting other leaders and speakers in to run sessions with them. So I thoroughly enjoyed the setting you created with your students and your students themselves. They were wonderfully engaging. One thing I noticed was that you also include, father of quality, our world, Dr. Deming, in some of your teaching. So I wanted to know, could you just relay why you thought to pull him into the class with your MBA students?
Because his teachings really resonate with me and my leadership style, which I kind of also, it aligns with my personal values. So when he talks about uh, taking ownership, like organizations taking ownership and not making scapegoats out of people, I really like it, because that's my interpretation of, I mean, he doesn't use these words, but that's just my interpretation, that when we go into performance appraisals, sometimes they are used as chopping blocks for the necks of people and passing on the buck, while it's our systems which need to be improved, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with people. So and most of the times it is the systems, because uh, if we can inspire people, if we provide them the right processes, if we understand our macro environment, then half the battle is done. So I like to introduce my leadership students to the fact that, shine a torch inside as well, and give yourself a diagnostic x-ray to understand whether as an organization can we support people better before going into the micros, and trying to support developing individuals. So his teachings kind of make us look at, it's very different, because the way in business we look at leadership, it is all about individuals, while his teachings say that it's the context which is really important. If you create the right context, individuals will thrive in that context. So recruit the right people, have the right connect with the job, and make sure that your processes are correct. So that's what I appreciate about it, Elizabeth. Yeah.
Wow.
Very nice. So recently, Sabiha, you were featured as featured speaker at the Expo Dubai, and one of the topics was how the We mentoring program can support the next generation of female leaders in the UAE. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us what the We mentoring program is for, and your effort and the role you played.
Thank you for giving me a platform to talk about this project, Tracy, because it is so close to my heart and I am really passionate about it. In a nutshell, what the We Mentoring Program is, the We is for women empowerment, and the mentoring program is for early career female students. What I have noticed in this part of the world and also globally is that there are certain industries, there are certain areas which are like glass walls for females. So there are stereotypes around these are male dominated areas, and these are female dominated areas. And when the women try to break these glass walls to enter these professions, they face a lot of challenges because they're not aware of what to expect there. So this we mentoring program, what we do is we connect early career female students with role models in the industries of their choice, of their dream, where they're wanting to make their career. And they do a structured mentoring program of almost 6 months, and where they share a close rapport with the mentors. The mentors are also kind of trained on how to support the mentees through their journey, and with the close networking of academia and industry, we hope to prep up these young females into the leadership scene and equalize the working field. Yeah.
Good for
we
you.
are sort of like we are sort of like the golfing networking scene for the men. We create the female networking for students who do not have access to maybe senior leaderships in the region. So we connect them and we facilitate it for them.
That's so interesting. So you're referencing the golfing network that is predominantly male that becomes a
Yes.
feeder for connections and getting ahead in business. And it gave me an idea, as we've discussed, Tracy has a passion for pickleball, and maybe that could become the new feeder for women.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's so fantastic because when we are in any kind of a sport environment, we our guards are down, and because I teach behavior, I know that at that point of time, our brains are most susceptible to ideas. So we do not have any defensive guards around us. We are not filtering it through perceptions. We are having fun, and our brain is at that point of time most open to creative ideas. So if you can do that, and use a sport as a networking, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a wonderful experience for the females whom you would be hosting for the event.
That's a great point. Tracy, your network, it's a lot of people you played sports with, same with mine. What were we going to say?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, Elizabeth. I liked lean pickleball just because I love pickleball and I love lean, and I wanted to bring them together with people I enjoy spending time with. But it's very mixed and it's very even, right? So it's more based on skill than on gender in terms of getting to play and how well you are. So it's a great sport to have that diversity and bring people along, both genders. So
But
really good idea.
really good idea, and so fascinating to hear the science behind it, which I know you're right, that's when we are most ourselves. Whatever we are, we're competitive, but we're making mistakes with each other, we're relying on each other. It's a great insight there about what that does to us.
How our mind works when we are playing a sport. That's when we are authentic ourselves. Our defenses are down. So that's how behavior plays a role. And probably that's why golfing really helps men network.
Yeah.
Tracy, probably you could have a women's day for your lean pickleball. So one of the days you could dedicate, like for example, here in UAE, we have because of the cultural traditions, most times at the swimming pools, etc., the public pools, we have a women's day, or at water parks we have a women's day. So why not a women's day for pickleball at your place? So just one of those days could be only women playing with women. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You're already having an impact on the San Diego women's leagues that we have without even.
Yeah.
Dr. Mumtaz strikes again. So you posted a quote recently, which I appreciated. You said, "Don't be concerned about what is popular or what is the current global fad. Don't worry about what the world expects. Rather ask yourself, what keeps me alive? Go out and find it. Chase your dreams. It will make you happy, and thus the world a happier place," which I just like to soak that in. It's such a great quote. And is this one of the things that you see holding women back, this idea of what's popular?
Yeah, because again, with the background in behavior, which of course I'm not going to bore you too much with, but as women, we are socialized to live by other people's expectations. So we are more concerned with what the world, either at a conscious level or sometimes even at a subconscious level, what the world is expecting from us. So we are more susceptible to the global fads than probably men, because we are socialized, our brains work in a way where we are more influenced and we give more credit to what is expected from us. So I want to bust that, because I have been fortunate enough. There were enough strong influences in my life who supported me to chase my dreams. No one told me to live a stereotypical, a stereotypical life which is expected from a woman in our culture. So if I was fortunate enough, then I want to empower other females who may not be as fortunate as me to chase their dreams and be happy. Everyone deserves happiness, everyone, irrespective of where we are, who we are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love it. Thank you so much, Sabiha. So nice to hear this. And I'm inspired. So I really appreciate you coming to the cafe. I guess, do we have time for one more question, Elisabeth?
Go for it, Tracy. One more.
So, my question is, what do you see making the biggest difference in paving the way for more female leaders in the Arab world?
Okay, so first I'll start with something positive to bust the stereotypical image that we have about the Arab world. Uh, that we feel that there is a lot of gender inequality in this part of the world. But being here since 2003, I've seen the world quite closely, and although I am from India, but I have stayed in the region for, more than a decade now. And I feel that there is a lot of impetus being provided to females, a lot of support being provided to them, and they're breaking all the glass ceilings and the glass walls. But as what they need more is, no stereotypes or expectations. So sometimes what holds them back, even though they may have support in terms of strategy, etc., what holds them back is their own guilt, that this is what I'm supposed to do. Am I being a, am I being a good mom if I join work within 3 months of giving birth to my baby? Am I being a good wife if I'm away on weekends traveling? So sometimes these are the shackles which we put on ourselves, not because someone is forcing us to do, but because of our own guilt, which we have been socialized into. And as our mind is like a sponge, so we're just soaking up stimuli. So sometimes subconsciously we are picking up people's expectations and we are burdening ourselves with it. So I think to be great leaders, we first need to break the shackles of our own brain, and not feel guilty to be happy, not feel guilty for living the life that we want to live. So I think that should be the starting point. Be who you want to be, guilt free.
Ooh, I think that might go on a mug, right, Tracy?
We'll put it on the back of this one.
Yeah, we'll put it on the back of our
Okay.
mug and get you. So so much here. Sabiha has such great quotes, such great insight in terms of, I see it myself, that we put the unspoken rules and restrictions that we create for ourselves without anyone else creating them. And those are often the biggest obstacles we face. And I know that there's going to be people interested in the We Mentoring program, and people want to contact you just because you're a fascinating human being and you have a lot going on. So can you let our listeners know how they could contact you if they wanted to?
I would love to be connected with people all over the world. Please connect with me on my LinkedIn. Search me by my name, Dr. Sabiha Mumtaz, SABIHA MUMTAZ. And please support my program in whichever way you can. I welcome people who offer and volunteer to be mentors or mentor even me. If you have if you're leading a successful business, please come share with me your stories, mentor me into making this venture a successful venture. I'm open to learning and I look forward to hearing from all of you. Thank you.
And if you ever get to San Diego, Sabiha, we'll do some lean pickleball.
Oh yes, I would love to, and I will show you what ping pong at our place looks like. How we play the ping pong kids way.
Watch out, Sabiha. She's a shark. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
Sabiha.
And I feel so blessed and honored to have known you, Elizabeth. It was a lucky day when I came across your profile. So I'm absolutely thrilled to know you and to know Tracy. Thank you for calling me here. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
We'll see you again. Take care.
Be sure to register for our December 9th webinar with Eric Olson, founder of Central Coast Lean. We'll be featuring how he facilitates virtual lean coffee. So he's bringing lean coffee to the cafe. We're going to need some more mugs.
We are. And tune in for our January webinar where leadership coach Sunitha Narayanan will bring neuroscience into the conversation and show us how we can leverage our own brains to become better leaders.
And there's still room for you to join our next Lean Six Sigma Leadership Workshop offered through UC San Diego. Class starts at the end of January, January 25th, and goes for 12 weeks. We'll provide a link to all of these on our website.
Yeah,
so thanks for listening.
Come join us.
We are happy to have your company here at the Just in Time Cafe, though, because it is a great place to gather, and we love you guys.
We do. Join us next month for your jolt of lean caffeine.